Welcome to the inaugural episode of Breaking It Solo, where either me, Sebastian Carrasco, or my co-host, Alcy Rengifo, write some more formal thoughts about films, shows that we find particularly interesting. And in celebration of the upcoming Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, I thought, why not look at Peaky Blinders as a series, specifically how Season 6 encapsulates the whole show. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Take a little walk to the edge of town and go across the track.
Peaky Blinders is one of those shows that might pop up on your Netflix homepage every few years. Perhaps even whispered about once in a blue moon on some online tier lists. At a glance, it might appear as just another low-budget, cash-grab gangster drama attempting to imitate Martin Scorsese's style, starring that guy who's popped up in one or two Christopher Nolan movies, including Oppenheimer. Peaky Blinders does indeed start that guy, Cillian Murphy, and is anything but a low-par Gangs of New York ripoff. However, before even delving into the latest season of this fascinating BBC Netflix drama, I would be remiss to exclude the fact that this particular show features an amazing ensemble. Sam Neill, Tom Hardy, Adrian Brody, Aidan Gillen, Anya Taylor-Joy, Sam Claflin as the chilling Sir Oswald Mosley, and of course the late and great Helen McCrory, among so many respected thespians. Welcome to Birmingham, and by the orders of the Peaky fucking Blinders, it's time to see what Season 6 and the complete series brings to the table.
No fighting. Oi! No fighting. No fucking fighting. No fighting. No fucking fighting! Good.
Would Peaky Blinders sit in the pantheon of the greatest shows of all time, or even the decade? For me, that's a tough question to answer definitively. Not when there's shows like Babylon Berlin, Dark, Scavenger's Reign, which are top of the list for me. In terms of thematic and stylistic ideas, Babylon Berlin, which takes place in Weimar, Germany, and Gangs of London, which is set in contemporary London, execute many of the ideas Peaky Blinders throws in its own series in a much more concentrated and focused manner. However, it is extremely self-evident that executive producer Stephen Knight has put real passion into the success of the series, due to a clear vision for how the show would evolve over time. From 1919 till 1933, much like the titular Birmingham gang, the Peaky Blinders and their driving force, the Shelbys, a Romani family. Most interestingly, the Blinders do not radically change as a people, both as the gang and a family, but they do become more focused in their ambitions as they attempt to climb the caste system of London, which is often reflected in the cinematic construction of the show, a truly brilliant choice. Most notably, one might observe how the cinematography and editing imbibes earlier seasons with the momentum and atmosphere of bygone MTV and punk-style music videos, evolving into something more clinical and foreboding, as the tribulations of the Shelbys become intertwined into broader geopolitical landscapes. On another quite rich level, this style can be heard in the implementation of an impressive soundtrack, which features the talents of Nick Cave, Joy Division, Idols, and Jack White more prominently in former seasons, while the haunting vocals of Tom York and Patti Smith invade the latter seasons. Nevertheless, the show does not abandon its iconoclastic soul, since that would forsake the Peaky Blinder identity altogether. On a quite notable scale, Peaky Blinders is a prime example of writing anti-hero protagonists who are not defined in simplistic cliches reminiscent of good people who do bad things or the good person corrupted by power. In fact, the show does not waste any time flirting with these ideas because these are not the terms in which it seeks to be engaged. From the first 10 minutes of the show, the reputation of the Shelby family is established, their personal motivations made clear, and savviness of their business dealings recognized as capitalizing perfectly on the systemic conditions of the time. Knight and his writing team additionally strike a fine balance of unveiling character background while advancing the story to avoid the pitfalls of huge exposition dumps. Ultimately, this approach is a double-edged sword, as it can also affect the dialogue and flow of character arcs, creating a sense of hesitation in the narrative. Yet, the overt changes throughout the 6 seasons do keep the narrative fresh and represent a net positive for the series. However, major character growth does not occur in the same manner, rather in intermittent spurts, which could easily confound viewers into thinking they missed episodes with important information. The lack of hand-holding is certainly welcome, but the connective tissue has to hold strong so anyone can return with minimal struggle in familiarizing themselves with the events transpiring. The other downside in this particular narrative approach is that the dialogue can feature a rather inconsistent style between the cast of characters. Contextually, it reasons that Milchian soliloquies are not par for the course for these blinders. Nevertheless, it becomes quite transparent for whom the most care and attention in the written word was given, namely Arthur and Tommy Shelby, Oswald Mosley, and Alfie. Even then, the quality isn't necessarily profound or subtle, but certainly produces some of the best retorts and one-liners in television history.
And the only way to guarantee peace is by making the prospect of war seem hopeless. If you apologize once, you do it again and again and again, like taking bricks out of the wall of your fucking house.
Even the best screenwriters lose their self-restraint when faced with the seductions of rule of cool. Although, it must be said that this is the rare gangster series where gritty characters can quote William Blake and sound wholly natural in doing so.
I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath. My wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not. My wrath did grow.
The invitation to break down the nooks and crannies of this enormous 6-season endeavor is certainly a tempting one, but that would ruin a uniquely worthwhile experience. A flawed show this certainly is, with moments of nonsense fit for any Michael Bay movie. But this ultimately demonstrates how mass appeal and artistry still have room in a space dominated by whales as large as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Blumhouse B-movies, and The Kissing Booth. Peaky Blinders shines with furious light of being beautifully imperfect.